Last time on Final Fantasy VIII. Group was in jail, Missile attack Garden, infiltrate Missile base, Garden can fly, Squall is now leader, attack enemy Garden, Rinoa is dead. Sorry, nah, she's just in a coma. We start with Squall in bed overthinking yet again, and Rinoa still being able to keep his mind on track. We see she is unconscious and in bed, but Squall is now called to go to Idia's house. Here we find Cid and Idia. We also learn that Idia was not in control of her actions. Instead, we learn that she was, and can still be, a puppet to the sorceress Ultimecia, a sorceress from the future. Turns out, Ultimecia is after Ellen and her power to bring someone's mind back in time. I haven't mentioned this, but there is an entire backstory going on about the other sorceresses. Apparently, there was a war involving the Estars being led by another sorceress, who just went up and missing. This sorceress is named Adele. And Ultimecia has her goal set on possessing her. So Ultimecia possesses another sorceress and wants Ellen to send her further back in the mind of Adele, possessing Adele. That is some Inception level shit right there. However, Squall still has his mind full on Rinoa's condition. However, Cid reprimands him for not taking this information more to heart, and tells him that he must be responsible. This frustrates Squall. Things kinda black out, and although Squall is listening to the conversation, he is mostly thinking about his time with Rinoa. The team tells Squall to listen and that they are just as worried about Rinoa as he is. Squall can't really say anything to that. So he updates the garden, and now we must find the White Seed ship. However, since they don't know the ship's whereabouts, he goes back to check in on Rinoa. This results in him getting sent to the past by Ellen. She explains that this was during the same time that Ellen was taken. Squall really wants to change the past, but Ellen says that she can't do that. And as they disconnect, Squall calls out to his big sis before he wakes up again at the infirmary. He realizes that the ship was Idia's ship and decides to ask her if she may have a clue about where they could be heading. Idia mentions how they have a liking to Cetra's landscape, so they could be near the Cetra continent. So she sends them off, but with a letter so that Squall's group may enter. You find them anchored and enter their ship. They ask you to leave, but against their wishes, you just head straight for the captain. You find out both Watts and Zone are still alive and kicking. And when you tell them of Rinoa's condition, Zone nearly loses it, but Watts was able to cool him down. Give the letter to the leader, you find out that they were found by Galbadia. Esthar saved them, and although the Seed didn't trust them, Ellen joined their ship. So now the group must head to Esthar. However, the Guardian can't reach there by any means. And Squall seems to have reached the end of his rope as well. He picks up Rinoa and just straight dips. He actually walks the whole way there with Rinoa on his back. At some point, he sits down to rest. Here we see him completely open up, admitting he doesn't like the part of him that worries about what other people think of him. After that sad moment, we then see him continue his walk. He makes it to the end of the station only to find Quistis and Zell. Turns out the entire group is escorting Idia to Esthar. But since nobody has seen it since the missing sorceress Adele, the group can only pass through the canyon. Once deep enough through the canyon, you will get into a boss fight. After that, you find out there is something up with your screen. Or rather, that there is something wrong with this area. A hatch opens in the sky and they climb an invisible ladder. Go through some high-tech rooms and an elevator to find yourself at the gates of Esthar. Which has been hidden behind a holographic wall the whole time. As you are brought closer, your squad then gets sent back into the past yet again. This time, Laguna, Kyros, and Ward are currently working in Esthar. Things happen and Laguna, Kyros, and Ward recruit a scientist, Dr. Odine, and a rebel group to help him find Ellen. By the end of this memory, Laguna and Ellen reunite. Once you're awakened, you are then taken to the presidential palace. Edea wanted to reach Esthar in order to prevent Ultimecia from taking over yet again. And that's when Dr. Odine says that her request is an easy task. On the other hand, Squall demands to meet with Ellen, and Dr. Odine allows this, but with the condition that he may observe Rinoa. Squall has no choice but to agree, though he says that he better not try something. Later, when things are prepped and ready, Squall, an extra member, and Rinoa, who was already placed in the ship, are then launched into space. The ground squad, on the other hand, will lay witness to the Pandora that Cypher was told to get. The group will be told to jump onto it. Once in place, you will get into a quick fight and you can jump into the giant ship. Once in, the squad will try to get as high as they can to stop Cypher, but they will be stopped by some giant robot and get kicked out. Pandora will then stop over a place. I don't know what the place is called, honestly. While that is going on, the other group has reached the station. Once there, Squall takes Rinoa into the medbay. He can then meet up with Ellen again and he asks her to help him. She will tell you to check out the control room. There you will see the surface of the moon covered by monsters, and an event called Lunar Cry might be occurring again. Ellen will then say, "Alright, let's go see Rinoa." But strange things happen, like her medical bay starts to open with no physical body present, which sets off the alarms. Squall tells Ellen to stay in the control room and Quisty to keep her safe. As he heads to the medical bay, Rinoa is obviously under the control of Ultimecia. When you try to approach, she will just launch you away. She makes her way to the control room and deactivates Adele's seal. The monsters on the moon start getting a little crazy. They tell you that Rinoa is gonna open the second seal and that she is gonna have to go out into space in order to open it. Squall gives chase, but the moon changes even more, and monsters are now falling upon the planet. Rinoa steps out of the station and Squall steals a spacesuit to try and catch her. But the doors are sealed to the outside and he has no choice but to get back inside. A man in the suit, who happens to be the president, is being told to evacuate, but is forced to leave. Just before he is gone, he tells Squall to protect Ellen. Back at the control center, we see Rinoa releasing Adele's seal. As the flood of the monsters crash into the seal, Rinoa is pushed further into space. Squall asks Ellen to take him to her, but she doesn't know if she can. Adele's tomb is then sent straight into Lunatic Pandora as Squall and Ellen make their way to the evacuation pods. Squall can't accept the thought of losing Rinoa. He pleads that Ellen sends him to her. She agrees and they secure themselves into the pods. Squall is then taken through the past as he sees her memories. We see how she forces Irvin to go back to save Squall. We see Rinoa asking Zell about his ring. But once they wake up, Squall says that it was too far back and Ellen tries again. We then are back to just after we defeated Edea and before Rinoa fell into a coma. We learn that it was Cypher being led by Rinoa who was possessed by Ultimecia. Ellen collapses and Squall was still unable to change the past. But they go one more time to a recent past not too far and still close to the present. Rinoa is alone, drifting in space and scared that she will die. Squall calls out to her, but as her life support reaches 0, she closes her eyes. Yet she realizes she is still alive and activates the backup support. Squall then wakes up and heads out to try and save her. This will activate a little minigame where within the time limit you must align Squall to Rinoa in order to catch her. Squall catches her and they so happen to find a spaceship floating nearby. The two had a real cute moment about hugging until Squall kinda made it a bit more dire. But hey, they're safe on this stranded ship, but turns out it's kinda infested. You learn that in order to clear out the infestation, you need to kill the monsters in colored pairs. Once they are cleared out, you will find a radio transmission in the cockpit. He is given directions to control the ship to land safely. The two have one of the most romantic interactions, which is complemented by the song that plays. But reality kicks in. Rinoa is a sorceress. She is gonna be detained as soon as they land, and she's scared. The FF8R came for Rinoa and asked that she go with them to seal her powers, but before she complies, Rinoa tells Squall about Ultimecia possessing her and her ultimate goal, time compression. She leaves, though it's obvious she doesn't want to. Squall still objects to her going, but she still goes. She remembers his ring, but he leaves it to her. She leaves and Squall still obviously can't make up his mind.
That makes me feel sad. I'm sad.
He enters the ship alone to think on his laurels, only for Quisty to jump in as well as Zell, Selphie, and Irvin. Quisty tells Squall that Ellen may have been kidnapped, and Zell gives his report and we learn that Edea gave her sorceress powers to Rinoa by accident. Squall pauses his report because he can't think, because he is only thinking of Rinoa. Squall informs them all that she is now a sorceress and that she has chosen to leave. But the group disagrees and berates him for not chasing after her, since he went through space just to save her in the first place. With Pandora being more trouble than it's worth, and Ellen gone missing, Squall only knows that he doesn't want to let Rinoa go. So that is their new mission. But guess who already read Squall's mind and took the ship for a joyride? A very energetic teammate who probably is cheering, "Woohoo, we're flying!" with a very excited sharpshooter right behind her. Ha! So off to save Rinoa, and as we fly to FF8R, the sky bleeds red. Head to the Sorceress Memorial and we stop them from taking Rinoa away. As they try to escape, they are surrounded, but are let through by a familiar character who seems to be a man of few words. With not much place to go, Rinoa requests we go back to Edea's house. Rinoa and Squall are alone together by a flower field, and she asks what happens next. She even goes on about how she is a sorceress who can be possessed at any time, and if the worst comes, Squall would have to kill her. Obviously, he is against it, and she still thinks she should stay with FF8R, but Squall says he would just chase her anyways. He then says to stay close to him, which she says is like the time during the Sorceress Parade back at Delling City. Squall says he doesn't remember and blames it on the GF memory loss. She thinks he's just making excuses, but she's feeling better thanks to this small talk. She goes on about a dream that ends with her looking for Squall, and she cries. But then Squall says that he promises that if she ever goes looking for him, she will find him here. Zell then breaks the mood with a report about a received message from Kyros, back at the FF8R Presidential Palace. Wondering if it might be the same Kyros, they head over to see what they want. Edea gives a last message to Squall as he heads off to FF8R. Head to the Presidential Palace and you will see the three amigos, Ward, Kyros, and the President of FF8R, Laguna. He explains how he knows your group and that he is aware that they were in his head in the past. This also gives you some time to ask questions. Here, we learn that Ellen was kidnapped by the Galbadian soldiers, how the lunatic Pandora was in the ocean, how Adele was stopped, how the Ragnarok was randomly in space, how he and Ellen were separated again, and Elle's relation to Edea and the orphanage. Anyway, get your mission briefing and we are told to let Ultimecia succeed in achieving time compression. This gives your group a window of opportunity to go straight into the future and take the fight straight to Ultimecia. Accepting this job, the group will board the Ragnarok and charge headfirst into lunatic Pandora. Enter Pandora and you will run into Raijin and Fujin. Beat them in a fight and they retreat. Go on ahead and you find Biggs and Wedge yet again. They both whine about their demotion and, although it was a joke, Wedge suggested quitting, which Biggs took him up on that offer. I love these two. Continue on ahead and you will run into the machine that sent the first Pandora infiltrators away. This fight was kinda tricky, but it will have two modes. Aim for the pauldrons first, until it separates, and then just target the main body. Keep this up and you will eventually beat it. Go on ahead and you will see Ellen held hostage by Raijin and Fujin, but they admit to Cypher they don't like what happened to him. Thus Ellen is set free and Raijin and Fujin leave Cypher. This results in a fight with Cypher, but then the GF you teamed up with along the way tries to finish Cypher in one strike, only for him to be struck down. Keep up the fight and Gilgamesh will end the fight. Although Cypher was defeated, he takes Rinoa hostage and the disc ends, with Cypher taking Rinoa to Adele's tomb. Well, that was quite the cliffhanger. Be sure to subscribe and hit the doorbell in order to see what happens next. Also, if you enjoyed it, please tell me if you enjoyed it. You can do so by leaving a friendly comment in the comment section below, and spread this video around to your friends by sharing, and spread it to random strangers by liking this video. That's how the like button works, right? Anyway, see y'alls in the next video.
My last night here with you. Maybe yes, maybe no. I kind of liked it your way, how you shine.